On tonight's Innovation Top Gear, the Nissan Combi van that makes you green with envy. It's good for about 80 miles, can also carry 5 people. And the latest all-electric offering from Hyundai, the Ioniq, which has just been introduced into the BBC pool car fleet. We'll be testing both on the demanding roads of Llandaff. It's a fairly spacious van which can also accommodate 5 adults. More importantly, it's zero emissions. However, it's certainly no looker. Confirmed petrolhead and BBC video editor Andy Macro was keen to try it out, and here are his first impressions.
It's very quiet, quite responsive. It's got a nice high driving position, but it's just such an easy thing to drive, being an automatic as well. There's no thought about it. The only thing that does concern me slightly is am I going to run out of battery power. Not driven one before, but apparently it's good for about 80 miles, they reckon. Probably more than that, really, but for town driving it would be absolutely perfect, because if you're in stop-start traffic, this is where this sort of vehicle will come into its best, I suppose.
The vehicle was brought in as part of the sustainable strategy for BBC Wales to help cut carbon emissions across the organisation's fleet. It's ideal for ferrying staff and equipment between, say, Roath Lock and Central Square, or to Llandaff until it's demolished.
As a vehicle for use in a city environment, this actually ticked a lot of boxes. Even as far as Swansea and back, this is actually a vehicle that ticks a lot of boxes.
There is this thing called range anxiety with electric vehicles. You say this can get to Swansea and back. Are you confident of that?
I've done it, but that said, you're absolutely right. The books will tell you that it'll actually it's got a range of up to 100 miles on it. Realistically, with things like the radio going, if it's a wet day with the wipers, etc., then of course you're going to use more electricity. So we say if you work on the basis of 75 to 80 miles, then you're comfortable in actually going out from BH and getting back to BH within that sort of radius.
Well, Nissan call this the NV200, but I certainly can't think of anyone who'd be envious about having a car like this. They say it's zero emission, it's also zero passion and zero fun. If Top Gear were to do a review of this car, Jeremy Clarkson might say, if this car were an animal, it'd be a spiny anteater or an Aardvark. Very well designed for what it needs to do, but really ugly to look at. However, the BBC fleet now has an even newer addition that's even greener and far more usable. It's the Hyundai Ioniq. It comes in 2 flavours, full electric and plug-in hybrid. BBC Wales has 2 of each. I decided to test the full electric version. On the road it's almost silent and remarkably refined. Whereas the Nissan was all scratchy, cheap plastic inside, this is high-tech and leather-lined. It's a comfortable cruiser. The hybrid version was What Car Magazine's Hybrid Car of the Year for 2018. That version can go for around 30 miles on electric power, and then the 1.6 petrol engine kicks in with a range of about 300 miles. Now that's quite reassuring, as you can't get stranded without fuel, as you could with a purely electric motor. That said, this all-electric version of the Ioniq does have a longer range than many of its competitors. Hyundai say they've been able to shoehorn extra-large lithium-ion batteries into this car by modifying the suspension. But Autocar, who did a review, say the claimed range of 174 miles between charges should be taken with a pinch of salt. However, it is good for well over 100 miles, and that is very useful when there's no emissions, and it's a very relaxing place to be. With the move to Central Square, environmental issues and sustainability have been factored into the very fabric and design of the new building, the so-called BREEAM rating. With that in mind, the new basement car park will be equipped with around 30 charging points. So it seems likely that this now small fleet of electric vehicles is set to grow.